Read! Front and center! The voice of Drill Sergeant Harlan split the air like a rifle shot. Every boot in the barracks froze. Every conversation died. And then came the laughter, the kind of low, cruel laughter that soldiers use when they found an easy target. Private Marcus Reed stood there, stiff as a board, his heart pounding. Harlan circled him like a wolf, eyes sharp, voice dripping with contempt. Look at this one. Shiny boots, perfect crease. You think polish makes up for blood, boy? Men like you don't last a week in my army. The barracks roared with chuckles, and Marcus felt the heat crawl up his neck. He kept his eyes straight, jaw tight, because he knew one wrong twitch would brand him weak forever. That was my first week in uniform. I had barely learned the cadence songs, and already I was the joke of the platoon. Harlan never missed a chance to put me on display, mocking the way I talked, the way I stood, the way I came from nothing. He called me street trash once, loud enough for everyone to hear. That one cut deeper than I'd ever admit, because it wasn't just about me. It was about my mother who worked 2 jobs to get me here, about the father I barely remembered, about the people back home who believed I might be the first to rise above it all. I felt stripped naked, every ounce of dignity laughed at in front of the men I'd be expected to fight beside. In the Army, silence is its own battlefield. You don't clap back at a sergeant, you don't argue, you don't defend yourself. You stand, you take it, and you keep breathing. That's the code. But standing there humiliated, I wanted nothing more than to shout back. Instead, I locked my knees, stared dead ahead, and swallowed the fire. From the corner of my eye, I caught Ramirez, Corporal Ramirez, the combat vet assigned to observe training. He didn't say a word, but I saw it. A flicker of something in his eyes. Pity, respect, maybe both. That look kept me from breaking. Later that day in the chow hall, the humiliation found me again. I just sat down, tray loaded, when a recruit accidentally bumped me, sending my food clattering across the floor. The whole place erupted in laughter. I stood there with an empty tray, my stomach growling and my pride burning. Nobody offered me a seat. Nobody offered me half their bread. Except Ramirez. He didn't say a word, didn't even look my way directly. But when I finally sat alone at the far end, he walked past, dropped his salt shaker on my table, and kept going. It was nothing and it was everything. A silent signal. I see you. Don't quit. But Sergeant Harlan wasn't done. At formation the next morning, he inspected every man's boots and uniforms. When he got to me, he bent down, squinting at the shine on my boots. They were flawless. Hours of polishing had made them mirrors. Pretty little reflection, he sneered. But boots don't make a soldier. Blood does. Sweat does. And you? You've got neither. The squad laughed on cue. I stood there motionless, fighting back every ounce of anger in my chest. My salute was crisp. My yes, Sergeant, louder than the rest. And for a second, just a second, I saw his eyes twitch with frustration that I didn't crack. That's the part nobody tells you. Sometimes the fight isn't bullets or fists. Sometimes it's humiliation. Every damn day. They test you with words waiting for you to fold. I carried those words back to my bunk, back to the silence of the barracks when the lights went out. I lay there staring at the ceiling, listening to the snores of men who thought I didn't belong. And all I could think was, if I quit now, they'll be right. If I stand, maybe one day they'll have to see me different. I thought that was the end of it. Just another day of keeping my head down, trying to survive the grind. But what I didn't know was that every humiliation, every insult, every laugh at my expense was stacking up like rounds in a magazine. One day they'd all fire at once. And when that moment came, everything would change in ways none of us expected. If this story resonates with you, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next chapters of this journey. The rain hit like nails on steel helmets that night. They had us running the ruck course again, packs soaked through, boots swallowing mud with every step. Some guys cursed under their breath, others laughed to keep from breaking. Me? I just kept moving, one boot in front of the other, lungs burning like I'd swallowed fire. Reed! Harlan's voice cut through the storm. Pick up your damn feet. You sound like a dying mule back there. Laughter followed, cruel and sharp. My shoulders wanted to collapse, my legs screamed to quit. But I didn't give him the satisfaction. I forced my pack higher and pushed harder, rain blinding me until the whole squad was dragging by the time we hit the finish line. Harlan shook his head, smirked, and walked away. Not a word of credit, not even a nod. Just more silence. More doubt hung over me. But when I glanced sideways, Ramirez was standing near the trucks, rain dripping from his cover. He gave the smallest nod, like he'd seen enough to know I wasn't quitting. That was fuel. Quiet, invisible fuel. The next day brought no mercy. At chow, the same recruit who knocked my tray before sat across from me, grinning wide. "How's it feel to be Harlan's favorite punching bag?" he sneered, shoveling mashed potatoes into his mouth. "Man, you'll wash out before we even see the rifle range." The table roared with laughter. I stared at my plate, forced my fork steady, though my hands wanted to shake. Then Ramirez walked by, real casual, and without looking at anyone, he reached over and tapped my canteen. "Full?" he asked. "Yes, Corporal." "Keep it that way." That was it. Just water talk. But everyone at the table heard the tone. Not mockery, not dismissal. Instruction. Respect wrapped in 2 words. The recruit's grin faded. He didn't say much after that. That night the silence of the barracks pressed heavy. Rows of boots lined perfectly under bunks, the smell of polish and sweat hanging in the air. Most guys joked, played cards, or passed out. I stayed awake with a field manual under the blanket, flashlight dim, studying tactics until my eyes blurred. My bunkmate rolled over and whispered, "You trying to win teacher's pet or something?" He chuckled, then fell asleep. I ignored him. Truth was, I wasn't chasing approval. I was chasing survival. I needed to know more, to be sharper, because Harlan had already marked me as weak, and weak men don't last long here. The next morning, they gave us the night navigation exercise. Compasses, maps, and nothing but trees and mud under a moonless sky. Pairs scattered across the woods, but I got paired with Collins, the same recruit who loved mocking me. "Great," he muttered. "Guess I'm babysitting tonight." I didn't answer. We trudged through the muck, Collins grumbling the whole way, until he took a wrong turn and led us straight into a swamp. Water up to our waists, packs dragging us down. He cursed, panicked, splashing like a drowning dog. I grabbed his strap, hauled him up, and shoved him toward higher ground. "Keep your damn head," I snapped. For a moment he looked at me like I wasn't the weak one, like maybe I'd saved him from more than mud. But he said nothing, just sulked the rest of the night. When we stumbled, back at dawn, soaked and filthy, Harlan was waiting. He paced in front of us, boots crunching gravel. "Pathetic," he barked. "Half of you couldn't navigate out of a Walmart parking lot. And read." He stopped, eyes locking on me. "If Collins hadn't dragged you out of the swamp, you'd still be swimming in your boots." Pitiful. Collins opened his mouth like he might correct him, then shut it. His pride wouldn't let him admit the truth. My chest tightened, heat rising to my face, but I kept my mouth shut. Ramirez, standing in the back, gave me that same unreadable look. He knew. That was enough. For now. The humiliation piled on, day after day. Push-ups until my arms shook, runs until my knees screamed. Harlan's voice always there to remind everyone I was the weak link. And yet something strange was happening. Every insult, every laugh chipped away at my anger and left something harder underneath. A layer of steel I didn't know I had. I started running after lights out, laps around the training field in silence. I stayed longer at the range, practicing reloads until my fingers bled. No one watched, no one cared, but I knew. Deep down I was changing, building something that couldn't be mocked away. Then came the breaking point. Week 4, obstacle course, full combat gear, squad time together. The rope bridge stretched across a muddy pit, slick from rain. Collins went first, slipped halfway, and dangled by his straps. Panic shot through the squad. Men froze, unsure, shouting useless advice. Harlan barked, "Leave him! Keep moving!" My gut twisted. Leave him. That wasn't soldiering. That wasn't brotherhood. Without thinking, I dropped my pack, sprinted onto the rope, arms burning as I hauled myself to Collins. "Grab my arm," I yelled. He flailed, terrified, until I locked a grip on his harness and yanked him back to safety. Mud swallowed us both, but we scrambled up, breathing hard. The squad went silent. Even Harlan's mouth hung open for a second too long. Then his face hardened. "Lucky break," he snapped, pretending it was nothing. But the squad had seen it. Ramirez had seen it. Collins had damn sure felt it. And in that silence, something shifted. Not much, just a crack in the wall of mockery that had caged me since day one. The respect wasn't open, not yet, but it was there, waiting. That night in the barracks, Collins dropped onto his bunk across from me. He stared at the ceiling for a long time before muttering, "Thanks for earlier." It was quiet, almost shameful, but real. I just nodded, no need to rub it in. He knew. And me? I lay awake, sore and bruised. But for the first time, I didn't feel alone. I felt something stronger, like maybe all the mud, all the insults, all the nights of silence were leading somewhere bigger than I could see. I thought that rope bridge was just another obstacle. I didn't know it was the first crack in the armor of doubt that had been choking me since day one. And soon that crack was going to tear wide open, exposing truths none of us were ready for. If this story resonates with you, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next chapters of this journey. By week 6, the days blurred together. Runs, drills, chow, sleep, repeat. The only thing that broke the monotony was the constant weight of Harlan's voice reminding everyone I was still the weak one. It didn't matter how many extra laps I ran at night, or how many times I hauled someone's gear when they lagged. To him, I'd always be the mistake the Army let through, and the squad followed his lead. You don't want to be the one siding with the outcast. That's how you get targeted yourself. Still, I noticed the small cracks. Collins stopped mocking me after I pulled him from that rope bridge. He didn't say much, but his silence carried more respect than any cheer. Ramirez still gave his unreadable nods. It wasn't much, but it was enough to keep me moving. Then came the equipment test. They called it a stress shoot. Full combat gear, live ammo, targets downrange, everything timed and judged. We had to run a mile, drag a dummy, fire under pressure, reload fast, clear a jam if it happened. I knew Harlan wanted me to fail. I saw it in his smirk when he called my name first. "Reed, let's see if you can even keep the rifle pointed the right way." Laughter followed me onto the line. My heart hammered. My palms slicked with sweat. But the moment that weapon hit my shoulder, something switched. Muscle memory, hours of practice on my own. I ran, dragged the dummy, dropped to prone, squeezed off rounds, steady, calm. Halfway through, Collins's rifle jammed in the next lane. He froze, eyes wide, panic creeping in. Without thinking, I slid over, cleared it in seconds, shoved it back into his hands. "Go!" I barked. He stared at me, stunned, then nodded and fired. I finished my own run a second later. My chest heaved, sweat pouring, but I'd done it clean. The range officer checked the targets. "Good shooting, Reed." No cheers, no applause, just that. But even that meant the world. Harlan scowled like he'd swallowed nails. At chow that evening, Collins finally spoke up, low enough so no one else heard. "You saved my ass again. Don't think I'll forget it." I just shrugged, chewing my bread, pretending it didn't matter. But inside, it meant more than I'd ever admit. Respect doesn't come in loud bursts. It comes in moments like that. Quiet, private, undeniable. But the real turning point came 2 days later. Leadership evaluation. Each squad picked someone to act as point man during a simulated mission. Navigate terrain, keep the squad together, hit checkpoints, react to enemy fire. Most assumed Collins would lead. He was louder, bigger, more confident. But to everyone's surprise, Ramirez, who oversaw the drill, announced, "Reed, you're point man today." The squad groaned. Harlan smirked. "Perfect. We'll see how fast he gets you all lost." My stomach flipped. I wanted to protest, but Ramirez's eyes held mine. No hint, no smile, just a steady look that said, "You're ready." Whether I believed it or not didn't matter anymore. We stepped into the woods at dawn, gear heavy, radios crackling. I unfolded the map, compass steady in my hand. My voice felt strange when I gave the first order. "We moved north by northwest, 5 clicks. Keep spacing, eyes sharp. No one responded at first, just grumbling under their breath, but they followed. The first hour was brutal. Thick brush, mud up to our shins. Harlan shadowed in the rear, calling out every misstep. Pick it up, Reed. You're dragging us into a swamp. But every time doubt crept in, I heard my father's voice. The voice I hadn't shared with anyone. Calm, deep, steady. Trust your compass. Trust your pace. Lead from the front, not the rear. He used to drill me in the woods back home before he deployed, teaching me knots, maps, survival tricks. I was 10 the last time he led me through those pines. A month later, he never came back from Afghanistan. I'd carried that weight in silence, too scared to speak his name in case someone accused me of leaning on his legacy instead of my own. But his lessons were in me, whether I liked it or not. Halfway through, enemy fire crackled over the radios. We hit the dirt. Smoke grenades hissed. Chaos everywhere. Collins froze again, staring into the trees like a deer. Move! I shouted, crawling to him. I grabbed his vest, dragged him behind cover. Return fire, damn it! He blinked, snapped out of it, and started shooting blanks into the tree line. The squad regrouped around me, waiting, watching. For the first time, they looked to me. Not Collins, not anyone else. Me. My chest tightened, but my voice came strong. Shift left. Flank wide. Move. 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 They obeyed. We moved as one. Pushed through. Reached the checkpoint ahead of schedule. When the smoke cleared, I realized my hands were shaking, but not from fear, from adrenaline, from the weight of command, and from the sudden, sharp silence of disbelief. They hadn't expected me to pull it off, but I had. Back at the assembly area, Harlan exploded. That was luck. A blind squirrel finds a nut every now and then. Don't let it go to your head, Reed. He turned to Ramirez. You set this up, didn't you? Trying to make him look good? Ramirez didn't flinch. He stepped forward, voice low but sharp as a blade. No, Sergeant. I put him in charge because I've watched him earn it. The squad went dead quiet. Harlan's jaw clenched. His authority cracked for the first time. He looked around for support, but no one laughed. No one backed him. Even Collins stood silent, eyes on me, not him. That was the moment everything flipped. Then Ramirez said the words that sealed it. This man carried more weight on his back than any of you know. My stomach dropped. He wasn't just talking about rucksacks. He knew. Somehow, he knew about my father. My chest burned as if the secret had been ripped into daylight. His father, Ramirez continued, was Sergeant Major William Reed, decorated, died in action overseas. And this kid never once used that name to shield himself. He chose to take every hit, every insult, every ounce of doubt, and earn his place from scratch. That's soldiering. The silence that followed was heavier than any gear we'd carried. I wanted to disappear, but there was no hiding now. My father's shadow stood in that field with me, undeniable. Harlan's face drained. The squad shifted uncomfortably, shame creeping across their features. Collins finally whispered, just loud enough, "Damn, that's why you never quit." The words weren't mocking. They were respect, raw and real. For the first time, I felt the weight lift. Not gone, but lighter. Shared. Harlan tried to recover. That doesn't change a damn thing. He's still weak. But his voice cracked, brittle, unconvincing. Ramirez stepped. Closer, eyes locked on him. Weak men don't carry others through swamps. Weak men don't drag soldiers to safety. Weak men don't lead under fire. You know it. They all know it. Harlan looked around again, but saw only silence. No smirks, no laughter. Just the eyes of men who'd seen the truth. And for once, he had nothing left to say. That night back in the barracks, no one laughed when I sat down to eat. Collins slid me half his cornbread without a word. Ramirez nodded as always, but this time I nodded back. And the rest? They didn't call me weak. They didn't call me anything. They just saw me, maybe for the first time. I lay awake later, staring at the ceiling, my father's face in my mind. For years I'd carried his absence like a wound. Now, maybe it was a weapon, a reminder of where I came from, and a fire for where I was going. That day didn't just change how they saw me, it changed how I saw myself. I wasn't just the outcast anymore. I wasn't just the kid from nothing. I was a soldier, and for the first time, I believed it. If this story resonates with you, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next chapters of this journey. The morning after the leadership drill, the barracks felt different. Not louder, not friendlier, just quieter. The kind of quiet that comes when people don't know what to say. Nobody laughed when I walked past. Nobody made jokes when I sat down at chow. Instead, there were sideways glances, a few half nods, and silence heavy enough to feel. Colin sat across from me, chewing slowly, then slid his bread over without looking. "Eat," he muttered. It wasn't an apology, but it was something. I took it, and for once, I didn't feel like an outsider sitting at that table. But Harlan wasn't about to let that stand. "Read!" His voice boomed across the hall, snapping every head up. "Don't think one lucky day makes you a soldier." He leaned over my table so close I could smell the coffee on his breath. "You'll never be more than a mistake in uniform." The room froze. My fork paused in midair. I wanted to shrink back, to disappear like I used to, but something in me had shifted. I didn't break eye contact. My voice came out low but steady. "Permission to finish my meal, Sergeant?" His eyes widened, just a flicker, before he smirked and stepped away. But everyone saw it, the crack in his armor. For the first time, I wasn't the one flinching. He was. That afternoon, we were back on the field for endurance drills. Mud up to our ankles, sweat pouring, rifles digging into our shoulders. Harlan pushed harder than ever, barking at me louder than anyone else. "Faster, Reed! You call that running? My grandmother moves quicker to Sunday church." The squad snickered half-heartedly, but the edge was gone. They weren't laughing at me anymore. They were laughing to stay out of his sights. I kept moving, legs burning, lungs on fire. Somewhere in the haze, I realized something simple. He wasn't testing me anymore. He was desperate to drag me back down, to prove I hadn't changed. But it was too late. I had. By evening, Ramirez finally broke his silence. He found me at the water point, leaning against the wall, still catching my breath. "You handled yourself today," he said quietly. I shrugged, wiping sweat from my face. Still feels like I'm one slip away from proving him right. Ramirez shook his head. "You proved him wrong the second you stopped trying to prove anything. Men see it. He knows it. That's why he's pressing harder." His words sank in, heavier than any pack I'd carried. For the first time, I believed it wasn't just me against the world. Someone else saw what I was becoming. But Harlan wasn't done. The climax came 2 nights later during evening formation. We stood in perfect rows under the floodlights, boots aligned, rifles on shoulders. The company commander arrived. Captain Morris, a man we rarely saw up close. He walked the line, inspecting us with sharp eyes. When he stopped in front of me, Harlan stepped forward like he'd been waiting for this. "Sir," he barked, "this recruit is unfit. He's been a constant liability. Recommend he be reassigned or recycled." My stomach dropped. The air sucked out of me. Every humiliation, every extra mile, every sleepless night, all boiling to this. My throat tightened, waiting for Morris to nod, to end it right there. But before I could speak, Ramirez's voice cut through the silence. Calm, firm, unshakable. "Respectfully, sir, that's not accurate." Every head turned. Harlan stiffened. "What's that supposed to mean, Corporal?" Ramirez stepped forward, his boots crunching the gravel. "I've seen Reed carry more weight than anyone here. I've seen him pull others from failure. I've seen him lead when the rest froze." He paused, eyes locked on Morris, not on Harlan. "With respect, sir, Reed isn't a liability. He's an example." The floodlights hummed. No one breathed. Harlan's face flushed red. "You undermining me, Corporal?" he hissed. Ramirez didn't flinch. "I'm speaking truth, Sergeant." And then, the twist no one expected. Captain Morris spoke, his voice calm but cutting. "Sergeant Harlan, step into my office after this formation. We need to talk about your judgment." Harlan's mouth opened, then closed. For once, he had no bark, no bite. Just silence. The squad's eyes darted from him to me, realization dawning. The reversal had landed. Authority had shifted. Formation ended, and we were dismissed. The barracks buzzed that night, whispers flying. For the first time, the jokes weren't about me. They were about him. Colin sat beside me on the bunk, shaking his head. Never thought I'd see the day he got shut down. His grin faded into something more serious. You earned this, Reed. Don't forget it. I nodded, but words failed me. All I felt was a strange mix of relief, exhaustion, and a new weight I hadn't carried before. Respect. Real respect. The kind you don't ask for. The kind you fight for until it's undeniable. Later, as lights went out, I lay awake listening to the quiet. No laughter, no mockery, just the steady breathing of men who finally saw me differently. The humiliation that had been my constant companion was gone, replaced with something else. Expectation. I wasn't invisible anymore. I wasn't the weak link, and that scared me almost as much as the mockery had, because now I had to live up to it. Still, as I drifted off, Ramirez's words echoed in my mind. He's not a liability. He's an example. Maybe for the first time, I believed it. Maybe for the first time, I belonged. If this story resonates with you, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next chapters of this journey. Graduation morning came cold and sharp, the kind of air that stings your lungs when you breathe it in. The sun was just creeping over the horizon, catching the flag as it climbed the pole. Boots stomped in unison on the parade field, rows of us standing tall, rifles on shoulders, uniforms pressed to perfection. My heart hammered as if it might burst through the fabric. For weeks I'd lived with humiliation, fought through doubt, and carried more than my share of silence. And now, standing there, I realized something. I wasn't the same man who walked into this place. None of us were. But for me, it was different. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was part of it. The commanders. Voice rang out, sharp as steel, reading names, calling honors. When my name came, there was a pause, just a breath of silence. Then clear and strong, for exceptional leadership under pressure, Private Marcus Reed. The words seemed to echo across the field. I stepped forward, my boots clicking, my salute crisp. I could feel every eye on me, waiting to see if I flinched. But I didn't. Not this time. I stood steady, chest high, hands steady, like I belonged there. Because I did. And then came the moment that silenced every whisper of doubt. Captain Morris stepped forward, eyes locked on me, and gave the smallest nod of respect. Not a speech, not a medal, just that nod. And in the Army, that nod meant everything. Behind me, I heard Collins whisper, "That's your win, Reed. You earned it." For a man who once mocked me, it was more valuable than a ribbon. Ramirez didn't say anything, as always. But as we marched off the field, he passed close, his hand brushing my shoulder just once. Quiet recognition. It said more than words ever could. Harlan stood stiff in the background, face unreadable, lips pressed thin. He didn't speak. Maybe he couldn't. Maybe he finally knew the truth, that he'd tried to break me, and all he'd done was forge me harder. That silence was its own kind of victory. Later that night, the barracks were calm, the chaos of training behind us. Boots lined perfectly under bunks, rifles cleaned and stacked. The usual haze of polish and sweat filling the air. A younger recruit sat near me, eyes wide, nervous energy radiating off him. "How'd you do it?" he asked quietly. "How'd you get through when it felt like they were all against you?" I looked at him, saw myself in his face, the same doubt, the same weight. I thought about all the times I'd wanted to quit, all the times I swallowed anger instead of spitting it out. My answer came slow, but steady. "You don't carry just your own weight here. You carry your brother's too. That's what keeps you moving." He nodded as if the words hit deeper than he expected. When the lights went out, I lay on my bunk staring at the ceiling, just like those first nights. But it wasn't the same. Back then, I'd stared up, wondering if I'd make it to morning, if I'd be cast out, laughed at until I broke. Now I stared up knowing I'd earned my place, knowing I'd walk through fire and come out steel. The silence around me wasn't mocking anymore. It was respect. And respect in this world is worth more than gold. The next chapter of my life was waiting, but that night I let myself breathe. I'd been tested, broken down, pushed to the edge, and I hadn't quit. Maybe that's all soldiering really is. Not glory, not medals, just refusing to quit, no matter what they throw at you. If this story resonates with you, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next chapters of this journey. The last image I want you to picture is this: a quiet parade ground at dusk. The American flag rippling in the wind. The sky painted with fading streaks of red and gold. Reed stands there alone, boots planted firm, hands at his sides, eyes fixed upward. The same sergeant who once mocked him walks past without a word, but pauses just long enough to give a single nod. No speeches, no applause, just that nod. And sometimes that's all it takes. In the Army, respect isn't handed out. It's earned through sweat, through silence, through fire. That moment said everything. He had become what no insult could deny, a soldier. And if you've ever felt like Reed, pushed aside, doubted, judged before you even had the chance to prove yourself, you know how heavy that weight can be. But here's the truth this story carries. Injustice might break your pride, but it doesn't have to break your spirit. Prejudice might try to silence you, but discipline and brotherhood will give you back your voice. In the end, actions speak louder than words. Every mile Reed ran, every insult he swallowed, every time he lifted a brother instead of himself, those actions rewrote his story. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and strength built on quiet resilience is unshakable. The lesson here is simple but powerful. Dignity is not what others give you, it's what you hold on to when everything else is stripped away. Brotherhood isn't found in easy days, it's forged in the hardest nights. And honor isn't loud, it's steady, proven, undeniable. If this story touched you, I invite you to share your own thoughts or experiences in the comments. Hit the like button if you believe stories like this matter, and subscribe so you won't miss the next chapter in this journey. Until then, stand tall, stay strong, and know you are never alone in this fight.